Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Jada if you don't know. I do a lot of videos about self-care, self-confidence, a lot of media commentary and reviews. So if you are into that kind of stuff, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss anything. Now, there's been something on my chest that I really need to get out. So the other day I went to see The Woman King in theaters and it was amazing. If you follow me on Instagram, you might have saw a post I made the other day where I said, please go see The Woman King. It is the most empowering movie I've ever seen, and it's true, it really was. I went into the movie with no expectations. My partner Leo was the one who suggested we go. I didn't even know it was coming out, which I mean, that makes me a terrible media industry employee, but whatever. So we went to go see it on the day it came out, and it was an amazing movie. One thing I love to do is I love to read reviews of movies, or I like to go to the Reddit threads and see what people are saying, what people are saying on Twitter. Just that part of me that just loves to know how a movie has been received. Even when I watch reality TV, I love to see what people are reacting to. I just love the comment section. Anyway, so after I watched the movie, I went home and I was reading the reactions people were having to the trailer before they've even seen the movie, and I saw so many people saying they thought that the movie was going to sanitize or Disneyfy the real impact of the Dahomey Kingdom. It's based off of a real story. The Dahomey Kingdom, which was a kingdom in Africa. I think it was during the 18th century at the time that the slave trade was going on, and the Dahomey people were very much involved in selling African slaves to Europeans. And that's the reason why a lot of us are in America to this day. It's because they were selling their prisoners of war to Europeans and they became slaves. So a lot of people were saying that they thought they weren't going to watch the movie, or they were going to boycott the movie because they believed that the movie was going to glorify the Dahomey people and make them seem like heroes, and basically skip over the history, the real history, the ugly history of that kingdom and their effects on the African slave trade. I think I can understand why people were concerned about that, and I think if I had known about this movie before I went to see it, I probably would have also been a little concerned about that. But after watching the movie, I have to say I think they did an amazing job of not only acknowledging it, it was actually very integral to the story. It was addressed literally in the first 10 minutes, and it was a constant part of the story. It was one of the biggest conflicts actually was this kingdom. They were caught up in the slave trade and doing it out of necessity, because on one hand they wanted to be prosperous, and at the time kingdoms and countries were becoming prosperous through the slave trade. They really framed it as if they hadn't participated, they would become the slaves, because it wasn't just them that was selling slaves. It was just very much a consequence of war between many countries, many kingdoms, and they had people who were coming after them and trying to enslave them in the same way that they were selling their prisoner of war as slaves. So it was really very much a constant conflict in the movie, because the Dahomey characters, they did not agree on. It was definitely something that Viola Davis's character was fighting against, even though her character was very much perpetuating it, because she was the head of the army that was conquering other kingdoms and taking prisoners of war. She was just doing her job, but at the same time she was really pushing for them to find another way to become prosperous. And that was something that was a main point of conflict between her character and the man who was the king, because Viola Davis's character was pushing heavily for, we need to stop selling African slaves, we need to stop perpetuating this cycle. Right now we're selling our prisoner of war, but we're selling Africans and we are African and they're not. The Europeans are not going to stop until we're all enslaved. So to all the people who were saying they were going to sanitize it or try to like make them seem like heroes or make them seem like they were not involved in this, that was very inaccurate. It actually was very much the story, like the conflict and the thing they were struggling with throughout the movie. And that just says that you really can't like talk about a film until you've seen it, because so many people have missed out on an amazing film because they were assuming that it wasn't going to be accurate. But I mean, I'm sure it wasn't completely accurate because it is a work of fiction, but I will say that the slave trade was definitely addressed and definitely was a big part of the story. And they definitely weren't heroes. Like, we definitely saw them struggling with this decision that had to be made and the morality of it, and feeling like this isn't right, but this is what I have to do because I'm following the king. And the king like was also grappling with what he was going to decide to do. So it was very well done. When I personally think, as someone who is not a historian, I thought it was very well handled and very much did not sanitize it. So I really enjoyed that part. Another thing I want to address is I saw a lot of people upset at the movie because they assumed that it was going to portray Black women as masculine, manly, grotesque, I guess. And that's really disappointing because when I watched it, I thought it was so beautiful, and like it brought me to tears multiple times because I kept like turning to Leo and I kept saying like, wow, like everyone is so beautiful. I can't believe it. It was like all these beautiful dark-skinned women. The warriors, okay. So a lot of people were upset because they thought that portraying Black women as warriors and hard and strong was making them masculine, and there is a lot of discourse around the strong Black woman trope in media, and that is something that I also always talk about because I do think that it can be harmful when Black women are always portrayed as strong and invincible, because I think it has real life effects. There's already all these misconceptions that Black women have a higher pain tolerance, and it can affect, for example, our care when we're going into hospitals and the medical field. So many times like Black women's pain is ignored and symptoms are ignored, and that affects the Black maternal mortality rate. So I've always been a big proponent of representation matters and wanting to make sure that portrayals of Black women, especially Black women, are positive, are fully formed, are fully fleshed out, and are just accurate and show us as full human beings with vulnerabilities, with strengths and weaknesses, and to show us as love interests and as protagonists, and not just somebody's best friend or somebody's side character, but someone with a full being. And so I understand why people would assume that this movie would just be another version of the strong Black woman trope, but as someone who watched it, I have to say that that is so far from the truth. I thought that the movie did an amazing job of showing these women as fully fleshed out, beautiful, complex, multidimensional characters. They were strong, they were capable, yes, and they were doing amazing things, and they were doing amazing things with their bodies, and they were, you know, kicking asses of men. But at the same time, there was such sisterhood, there was such vulnerabilities, such sensitivity. There were so many moments where it was just sisterhood and women just like supporting each other and being there for each other. We definitely saw like the pain in so many characters and their vulnerability, and we understood their backstories, and we saw them grappling with like emotions and trying to be strong, but also being very vulnerable, also being very feminine. And another thing is like, not all the women in the movie were warriors. And there was definitely black women, dark-skinned, beautiful black women who their only job in the movie was to be beautiful and dark-skinned. Like, oh my gosh, if you watch the movie, there is a woman who plays the wife of the king, one of his many wives, and she was just probably the most beautiful person I've ever seen. Like, just gorgeous, just beautiful long box braids, beautiful makeup, like colorful, beautiful body, beautiful outfits, and there was just so many. And even the warriors themselves were so beautiful too. Like, they were, even when they were fighting, they were fucking gorgeous. Gorgeous in a very natural way. Like, one thing I loved was, I'm so terrible, I never remember character names, I'm sorry, but there was a woman who played the main character, who was just like this rookie, this young spunky girl who turned into an amazing warrior, and she was so cute. And even as she was no makeup, you know, hair in two French braids, edges not laid, was a love interest, had a male character who protected her in his own way and helped her and didn't let her just, like, even though she was a strong, amazing woman who was like beating asses, she still was also taken care of in a very feminine way. And like, that's why I'm just like, y'all, like, you really can't talk about a movie until you've seen it, because like, it really makes me upset. Like, it really makes me upset to see like so many people talking down on it, because, you know, as someone who's really passionate about these things, who the whole reason why I pursued entertainment as a career in the first place is because I wanted to make, you know, this industry a better place for black women, and to make sure that little black girls get to turn on the TV and see someone who looks like them, who's portrayed positively and like as a fully complex character and has a full life. Like, it makes me sad that this movie was literally what I've been praying for, what I've been fighting for, and so many people are writing it off because they just judge it because it's like black women warriors, even though this was a piece of history that actually happened. And two, the movie itself was so well directed, so well written, so full of examples of complex characters and strength and vulnerability and femininity all at the same time. And so many people are not even going to give themselves the opportunity to see it because they have written it off in their mind already. And I find that to be so sad because this is something we've been fighting for so long. Also, something I really, really liked about the movie was, I'm not gonna lie, seeing these beautiful, dark-skinned black people with African features standing up and taking a stand against colonialism and fighting back against the Europeans, that did something to me. I'm sorry, it did something to me in my soul. Like, it was just, because sometimes living in this country can be so sad and so heavy, like, and you see so many examples of like people who look like you being beaten down and held down and not having pride in themselves and not having hope. And especially online right now, there's so much discourse where like black women are fighting against black men, and people talking about the black community and black culture and what's wrong with it, and this and that, and so much negativity that, to me, seeing these characters stand up and fight against the Europeans in the movie, like, it just represented like the battle inside myself where I'm fighting against the conditioning that taught me to be ashamed of my blackness or hide it in some ways, to tone it down for certain people. It's just like fighting against that conditioning, and it just felt good to watch and it just felt good to watch, like, just dark-skinned Black people just existing on the screen and being full real people with backstories and vulnerability and pain. The acting was so good. Well, obviously because it's Viola Davis, but it's just like, it was so good. Like, it was so good. Like, but it also gave me a lot of hope as someone who works in this industry and also is finally dipping her toe into acting. It really gave me hope that if I did decide to fully pursue acting, because right now I'm just starting acting classes and getting comfortable with acting, but if I decided to fully pursue acting, it makes me so hopeful that there will be positive, fully fleshed out roles for a Black woman who looks like me, like someone who is not racially ambiguous, someone who is brown to dark skinned, who tans easily, who has natural hair, who has locks. This movie made me really hopeful that if I was to really pursue acting, that I wouldn't have to worry about only being able to go out for negative roles or stereotypical roles, or roles that are just not well written or are just shallow. These were really deep, really complex, powerful, positive, nuanced, flawed people. And they looked like me. Like, they had dark skin, they had locks, they had natural hair, they, you know, like, it was just amazing. It was just amazing. And I encourage anyone who is looking for a movie like that, looking for a movie that represents Black women in a positive way, in a well-rounded way, that makes us the main characters, that shows us as flawed people. This is a movie for you, and I really highly encourage you to go out and see it. And yeah, like, that's all I could say is just please go out and see it. Please show Hollywood that this can be profitable, because this is what we need more of. We need more of this. We need more opportunities for Black directors, for Black actresses. Just please go out and see it. Please don't listen to these people who didn't ever watch the movie and are talking out of their ass. Like, please go and form your own opinion. You don't even have to like it. Just go out and see it and give it a chance. So yeah, thank you for watching. And if you saw the movie, please let me know what you thought of it. And if you have any movie recommendations, please let me know. I love movies. I love media. So I'm always looking for something new to watch. And thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.